In the second hour, again on quarterback, but not having anything to do with Brendan Sorsby. The three of us were all not on the show on Friday. Friday was the first show after all the Browns offseason on-field stuff came to an end. So I don't know who was on Friday's show, Mike.
It was Zach, myself,
and Earl.
No,
Dustin?
you were on with Friday, right?
I think I was. Yeah, I was on Friday.
Yeah,
You're the one who said none of us were here Friday.
G, I said you and Jason weren't here.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you said all three of us.
No.
My bad. So, G, you were here.
I was here, man.
All right.
Yeah,
so,
you had me confused. I was like, no, G was
I'm
sitting next
sorry.
to me.
I thought you had said all three of us weren't here, and I wasn't here, so I didn't know who was here. But anyway, it was the first time to kind of talk about the comments from Todd Monken about the quarterback situation. So Jason and I now have a chance to chime in, and G. Bush with the second chance to chime in on it. Go ahead with you got the quote graphic of what he said there at the end of camp on Thursday?
No, but he said, I'm not ready to name a starter because both guys have earned the right to still compete for the job. So that is what he said. Yeah. We don't have the words to back it up, but I promise you that is what he said. So I was curious what your guys' thoughts.
We also know that on the first day of the mandatory minicamp, Deshaun Watson took the first team reps. The second day it was Shedeur Sanders, and then the third day they split them. So in terms of opportunity, without being there, it seems like those two guys got an equal opportunity to compete, which obviously wasn't the case. Oh, it's not. Well, it wasn't the case that everybody got a chance last year, and it's not the case again this year. Dylan Gabriel is not being given a chance to compete for the starting job, and neither is Taylor Green. But two guys are, and they got what seemed to be an equal amount of first-team reps. You heard, Mike mentioned the comments by Todd Monken. Jason, your thoughts on what he said, that they both earned the right to compete.
Okay, fine.
Yeah. Do you buy that that's the reason he's not naming a starter?
No, I think Deshaun's looked worse than they expected.
You think he wanted Deshaun to be the starter and he just hasn't taken the job?
I mean, I've been pretty consistent from the time I got back from the owners' meetings. It was when I realized, no, they're serious about this. Deshaun's going to be the starting quarterback. And I think they went out in the field and looked at him and said, oh, boy, well, maybe we need to reconsider this. I see no upside of playing Deshaun. I've said it 100 times. I'll say it 100 more. I think Shedeur should be the starter on this team. Do I have a lot of faith in him long term? No, hardly any. But more than I have in Deshaun, because under no circumstance would I ever give Deshaun Watson another contract if I'm the Browns. So especially after the Miles, I just don't see any reason whatsoever to run Deshaun out there. So start Shedeur.
The Myles Garrett trade, to me, I agree with you, was the final straw of any reason why you would consider Deshaun Watson. I had been wavering on that issue anyway. Yeah. And between the Myles Garrett trade and the fact that I've heard from people that were there that Deshaun Watson has looked terrible in practice, I agree with you, there's zero reason to play Deshaun Watson. In fact, the only reason not to name Shedeur Sanders the starter is if there's something about either his preparation or his game that Todd Monken doesn't like. That's the only reason I wouldn't do it. I'm not saying that's the case.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, otherwise I would just name him the starter because what's the point?
Yeah.
Dylan Gabriel can't play. Deshaun Watson can't play. So I'd play Shedeur. And I'm pretty much with you. I'm not a big believer. I don't think he's going to be a franchise quarterback. But I at least think there's a chance, and I don't think there's a chance with anybody else. So if we want to find out, even if it's a small percentage, I know G. Bush thinks it's a higher percentage, and he'll go next. But even with me, that thinks it's not a high percentage that Shedeur Sanders is the guy, I think there's a percentage.
It's not. I would agree with. It's not zero.
It's not zero.
Yeah.
The other guy's at zero, in my opinion, or as close to zero as it can be.
Yeah.
And I want to see it. Let's find out. I hope G. Bush is right that there's a good chance he's going to be a franchise quarterback because that means they could spend 2 first-round picks on other things next year. How great would that be? So there's no reason to play anybody else. You want to say you don't name a starter because you want to have some sense of Shedeur earning the job? Okay, fine. But in the end, I think he's got to be the quarterback. G. Bush.
I look at it from a perspective of in this offseason, I think they've talked about what they wanted to see from Shedeur Sanders, and I think he's done those things. I think when you come in with a new coach, the best thing that you can do with a new coach is establish the idea that competition means something. And I think he's always said that your players will choose the quarterback, right? And you need to have, going into the season, the level of buy-in from your team and the coaches, so that they understand, like, this is the dude we're going to stick behind. We all saw the progression. We all saw the competition. Here's the guy. So I think they did exactly what they were supposed to do, because what you want is, if the narrative and the conversation was Deshaun Watson heading into these mini camps was going to be the starting quarterback, you still want Shedeur Sanders to do everything that you want him to do outside of the football field. Not saying that he doesn't have a work ethic, or not saying that he wasn't doing that before, but it is proving yourself to a new guy that hasn't seen you. So the first thing that they said they wanted him to work on was the footsteps. The second thing they say they want to work with is getting the ball out quicker. They also wanted to see what he was going to do. It looks like he's more in shape. His body is transforming. And 3, how do you handle the competition? I like my guys to come in and feel like any given day, every single rep means something. Every single day you need to have an opportunity to get better. And I thought what you saw was, in the beginning, Deshaun Watson, for lack of better terms or whatever you want to say, he's a guy that if you go out there in shorts, Deshaun Watson has a nice way of throwing the football. He looks good when he throws the football, and the way he throws it just have a little something extra to it. But that's just with the shorts on. You want to see these guys do it against top-notch competition and do it when the pass get to hitting. So for me, I would be alarmed if Shedeur or Deshaun was that bad where they just had to get a job to somebody sight unseen. That would tell me, like, I don't know if this gonna be to turn out all right. But since the fact that they're going into the training camp and it's still another competition, it's exactly where it's supposed to be at.
I will say this: I think it's better for the organization to name the starter by, at latest, for me, at the end of the first preseason game. Latest.
Yeah, I'd like it before that.
And I would like it before that.
Yeah, I mean.
And to me, the only way Deshaun Watson starts is that they think Shedeur Sanders will hinder the progress of the other young players on offense. And more than Deshaun Watson would. Yeah. And I think that's unlikely. Otherwise, why would you play Deshaun Watson?
I think. So at this point, the way I've always been clear about the premise of it, and I've lived this before. I've been a young guy that was trying to take somebody's spot. I've been also the old guy that was injured a lot, and they got another young dude that came in, and it was a point in time where they're like, listen, you're a senior. We got this young guy. He's not better than you right now, but it's close, and we can give him the reps, right? Mm-hmm. We're not going to be good anyway.
Right. So, right. Exactly.
So I had to swallow the pill. Like, oh my god, but he's not better than me. But I understood when I got older what it was. If you are even, and it's Deshaun Watson and Shedeur Sanders, I'm gonna just tell you right now, if it's even, Shedeur Sanders is going to get the opportunity, because that's just the way it is. That's just the way football works. And so for me, if they're neck and neck, now here's the thing. Shedeur still has to do what he needs to do over the next 6 weeks to continue that progress.
Yeah.
And I think
he can't rest on his laurels at all. He hasn't accomplished anything in the NFL.
Absolutely not. He's supposed to be locked in, and I think he's done a good job of being locked in and not doing a lot of other things. You don't really hear from him. And I think, to me, the Deshaun Watson thing is, and like Jason said, when Myles Garrett got traded, I could look at Deshaun Watson and say, okay, well, if they think he's going to give him the best opportunity to play and he win the job, then you got Myles Garrett, you got some other veterans on the team, and you want to maximize that. But when you moved on for Myles Garrett, they asked me about Joey Bosa yesterday. I said, absolutely not.
No.
Why would I bring Bosa in here?
No, it makes no sense.
You're playing a bunch of young guys.
Yeah.
Like Jerry Jeudy. If Jerry Jeudy is not up to snuff in camp, I will play Isaiah Bond. I will play Denzel Boston and Casey Concepcion. I'm not even going to play around with it.
I would trade Jerry Jeudy in a minute if I could.
They got all the guys up there young, so it just makes sense to me. And I think what they want is they want to see the consistent progress. I like his progress so far. A lot of people say, hey, man, you love Shedeur Sanders. I said, listen, to me, it's always been about the tools that he has that I like, but it's not like he doesn't have to have progression. There's areas of his game where they got to work at it. And I like the fact that Todd Monken is coaching difficult. I like that because I need to see that. I need to see the progression, and I think his teammates need to see it, and I think that he has progressed. So if it was me, I play the young guy, but the young guy has to earn it.
Yeah, I mean, let's face it. If they played Deshaun Watson, the whole season's a waste. Well, the season is completely meaningless. You're not getting any answers at the quarterback position.
They're telling you what they think of Shedeur if they start Deshaun.
100%. If Deshaun Watson plays week 1, they think Shedeur Sanders is not any good.
Especially after the Miles trade.
Right.
So if Deshaun wins this job, they're telling you everything you need to know about where they stand on Shedeur.
I mean, we've heard from the same people. Deshaun Watson's looked terrible he looked terrible. He can't. I mean, he's missing guys by a mile.
That's the thing that you go back, and I always tell people when you're watching a quarterback, the thing with Deshaun Watson wasn't the fact that he was shot and he couldn't throw the ball. The fact was when he was under pressure, when the games were on, he was wildly inaccurate. And you don't just get accurate with shorts. You only find out whether a person is accurate when you have pressure and when you have game threat.
And not to mention, he hasn't played a game since tearing his Achilles twice. So
with that in mind, and I guess I've thought of this, but the way you just worded it unlocked the next level to this. This should have been this part of the offseason program where Deshaun shined. This is the part that was necessary.
He hasn't.
That was kind of built to showcase what he's shown us the ability to do, as opposed to when the pads come on and there's a live pass rush and some of the panic sets in when his first read isn't there. This was the part where he was supposed to look as good as we've seen Deshaun Watson in a Browns uniform. And I think, and I'm not putting words in your mouth, correct me if I'm wrong, you're saying the fact that he reportedly didn't look up to snuff in this stage of the camp, with it being designed to showcase what he's done well, maybe a bigger indictment than just, he didn't play great. He hasn't played in 2.5 years. It is what it is.
This was supposed to, so if I was his agent or if I was somebody in his camp, I would be telling him, here's what you need to do. Here's our path to playing week 1 and getting this starting job. You have to dominate OTAs. What I mean dominate, I mean you're supposed to spin it. There shouldn't be any footballs hitting the ground.
Yeah.
You should be vocal. People should go to camp and say, who is this guy?
Yeah.
And if you're going to get the job, you have to, this part of the portion, you have to make it look like, oh, this is it. There's no questions. This is it. Because this is where you should already have the upper advantage because you are been in the league for 10 years. You do understand how offensive installs work, right? You do have the leverage in terms of most people think that he looks more natural throwing the football in shorts and plus he was healthy. He's moving around pretty good. So he had to kill it this time. The fact that is disturbing is if I was in his camp or I was telling him how he would go to start is Shedeur Sanders, where he had the advantage of has closed the gap in terms of the footwork, getting the ball out quickly. He's not getting the ball. He's not holding the ball per se, and he's made some pretty good throws. And the last camp day when it was Wednesday, he looked. You hear a lot of people, Zach and Mary Kay, and even Coach Riz for 92 Through Defense said that was one of the better camp days of any of the quarterbacks. So he closed the gap enough so that there is now a question mark. And if you got a veteran, you don't want question marks because now you go into the next part, and this is the part where the speed of the game can potentially be in trouble for Deshaun Watson because he hasn't played roughly he played 19 games in 4 years, and he's taken 2 long calendar time periods off. So that's the part that would be a little scary for me. But
and he's had a broken shoulder, 2 torn Achilles. I mean, come on.